Hey everybody. I know I don't usually open these deep dive podcasts videos with my dulcet tones and all that. But I wanted to just say I wanted to just do this because well, CN2, the guy who makes the Kids TV rebrand videos, making an AU of like what if Kids TV did come back and like kept going. I like these videos, and I've always wanted to find. I always wanted to do something, a video, just kind of explaining, why I like these so much. What you're about to hear is stuff I wrote for Notebook LM to just kind of use for the whole thing. It does get a few things wrong, but mostly it gets everything mostly right. And to the dude that's stealing CN2's videos, yeah, buddy, I see you. You think you fucking clever with that shit? He makes those videos himself, and you're just out here like, he makes those videos himself, or he or she, whichever. I don't know their actual gender, but they make them, and you're taking them, and yeah, I know. And even though I didn't really say anything about that other dude in the deep dive podcast, because really the focus is on CN2, and just the fact that this these videos are being made, and if you watch them all together, it really does feel like you're watching like a complete lineup, even though you're not really watching the shows. I know why you don't. I mean, some YouTube channels gotta do that, but I understand not every YouTube channel does that. But still would want to see CN2 rebranded Kids TV as like an actual channel though. Be kind of cool. Be kind of cool if it was like an actual web channel. But I wanted to do this as kind of a little advertisement to CN2's videos, so you can see him. Not just the Kids TV stuff. He does other stuff too, but I wanted to focus on the Kids TV stuff to kind of see if you guys want to check it out. In the description below, I have already I put the usual, deep dive jargon, but I've also left a freaking URL to the playlist and the URL to his channel. So, you guys can go check it out. Tell me what you think. Leave something in the comments. I know these deep dive videos don't really ask for comments, but I just want to do that. I already did like a kind of ad for web channels itself, and I kind of want to do it for this too because, I want to spotlight this. The deep dive is whatever I want it to be, but I wanted to kind of spotlight the two things that I really enjoy. With this whole free TV movement, even though CN2 isn't really a part of that, I'd say he's adjacent. He's like there. The channel's adjacent to it, and I just wish it would make a full on channel. But I do realize wholeheartedly how big of an undertaking that is. Like you'd have to like start your stream in the morning. Got to work with Ursats. Got to do this whole program thing. There's like three different ways to like actually put a bunch of video files together and put them together like a lineup, and it's so fucking tedious. I made something on WebSim as kind of a way to combat that, but yeah. I just kind of wanted to do this little segment just to kind of tell you guys what's going on because I know a lot of you would be like, "Oh, Bugsy, you made AI slop with this." Nah, AI is a tool, and I'm using that tool to spotlight things that I like, and some weird what if scenarios too. So enjoy the deep dive podcast. And oh yeah, sorry I didn't really do anything special for the I maybe I should do something special for the cover. I'm doing this in post, so I could just do it real quick. But anyways, I shall see you all. I'll see you all later. And hopefully I got that transition going this time. I shall see you later. I will see you. This is Bugsy No Name from his sunny observatory in space, paradox space. Peace.
Wait, look at the bottom right corner of the screen right now. Did you catch that?
Oh, wait, the frog.
Yeah, Michigan J Frog. He literally just ducked out of the way of a massive laser explosion. Like, it just shot right out of Dexter's laboratory.
I saw that, yeah. And, I mean, the timing on that animation is just incredible. The smoke clears exactly as the network logo spins back.
Back into the center.
Exactly, into its central anchor point.
Yeah.
I mean, they're treating the physical space of the screen like a real environment.
It is entirely surreal. Okay, so for you listening at home, you aren't physically sitting in this room with us, which is genuinely a tragedy.
It really is.
Because right at this exact moment, as we are recording this deep dive, we are staring at a television screen. We're actively watching the lineup for the Mandark, Dexter's Laboratory Ego Trip Network takeover.
And it operates with this intense urgency, right? Like a live broadcast?
That is the exact feeling. We're watching this on what you could call Cartoon Network 2 or Cartoon Network 2.0. And we're doing this to get a true, undeniable feel of it for you.
Yeah, we wanted to experience it in real time so we could really break down the mechanics of it.
Right, and let me tell you right out of the gate, you need to go check out Cartoon Network 2.0 because going through these sources and, watching this broadcast happen right in front of my eyes, I'm experiencing this intense, bewildered curiosity.
It's disorienting, but in the best way.
It really is. It feels like someone reached into my brain, pulled out the feeling of a Saturday morning in 1999, sitting cross-legged on the carpet, totally transfixed by the television, and somehow engineered it to exist today.
Well, the creator is essentially weaponizing a very specific, potent kind of time travel. I mean, it demands your attention.
It really pulls you in. So let's lay out the mission for today's deep dive. We are unpacking an incredibly detailed, massive alternate universe project.
Right, an AU.
Exactly, an AU created by a YouTuber known as CNTwo, or Cartoon Network 2.0. And in this specific alternate timeline, the iconic Kids WB television block.
The one that essentially dictated playground culture for a decade, yeah.
Right, that one. It didn't die out, it didn't fade away, it evolved, it survived the streaming wars of the 2010s, and it received a massive, high-budget, mid-2020s rebrand. Okay, let's unpack this.
So to truly understand the scale of the architectural marvel that CN2 has built here, we have to look at the structural failure of our own timeline first.
Okay, say it on me.
Well, in our real world, Kids WB launched back in 1995. It was a Saturday morning and weekday afternoon block on the WB network. And for a time, it was a cultural juggernaut.
Oh, it was the undisputed heavyweight champion of after-school television. It brought us the localization of Pokemon, the absolute meta-comedy of Animaniacs, Yu-Gi-Oh!, Batman the Animated Series.
You didn't just watch it, right?
You scheduled your whole life around it.
Exactly. The mechanism of its success was appointment viewing. But in our timeline, that model faced insurmountable economic and corporate challenges. The pivotal moment, really, the death knell for the block, was the 2006 CW merger.
Right, the CW.
Yeah, that was when the WB and UPN combined their assets to form the CW network.
See, I always knew that merger changed things, but I never fully understood the underlying mechanics of, why it killed the cartoon block. Why couldn't they just keep playing the hits?
It mostly comes down to a shift in target demographics and regulatory burdens. The CW was explicitly designed to capture the young adult and teen drama demographic.
Oh, like Gossip Girl.
Gossip Girl, Supernatural, stuff like that. Yeah. Children's programming just didn't fit that advertising model anymore.
That makes sense.
Furthermore, broadcast networks were bound by FCC regulations, specifically the EI, or Educational and Informational Mandates. Networks are legally required to broadcast a certain number of hours of educational content for children.
So the networks were basically forced to eat the cost of airing shows that didn't sell well to toy advertisers.
Precisely the issue. They viewed Saturday morning not as a profit center, but as a regulatory tax. So they began leasing out that airtime to third-party companies just to meet the EI quota cheaply.
Wow, just doing the bare minimum.
Yeah, exactly. Add in the simultaneous rise of on-demand streaming and dedicated 24-hour cable channels, and the traditional broadcast cartoon block was starved of resources until it just went extinct.
Which fundamentally altered how kids consume media, but here is the divergence point.
Right, the EU.
In CNTwo's alternate universe, the corporate boardroom takes a completely different path. In this timeline, Warner Bros. Discovery looks at its intellectual property, looks at its animation heritage, and instead of treating it like a regulatory burden, they commit heavily to it.
They double down on the broadcast block model.
Right. What's fascinating here is that the creator is using this AU not as some static museum exhibit, but as a laboratory. They aren't just uploading old VHS rips with tracking lines and calling it nostalgia.
No, this project is set right now. It is actively tracking the 2025 and 2026 television seasons. It's attempting to prove a media thesis, basically.
And what's that thesis?
That legacy properties can be modernized, integrated, and thrive in the present day without losing their foundational identity.
And the visual execution of that thesis is just stunning. In this alternate universe, around the mid-2020s, Kids WB gets a massive visual overhaul based on the backlot concept.
Oh, I love the backlot stuff.
Yeah.
The aesthetic directly from the physical Warner Bros. Studio lot in Burbank.
Right, so you're watching these bumpers, and the animation has this kinetic, modern energy, but the setting is completely grounded. You see water towers, sound stages, golf carts zipping around between takes.
That's brilliant.
And the classic mascots are fully integrated into this physical space. Daffy Duck is wandering around holding a clipboard, complaining about his screen time. Yosemite Sam is accidentally causing property damage to a lighting rig.
It feels like a real workplace.
Exactly. Our sources also point out collaborations with other creators, like an animator who goes by Sovereign Maid, who helped craft these really highly detailed backlot environments.
Well, the backlot concept solves a major narrative problem for a network. By placing all these disparate characters who, have different art styles and exist in totally different fictional universes.
Right, totally different worlds.
Into a shared, mundane working environment, it creates a cohesive brand identity. The psychological framing tells the viewer, these characters are actors, and this is where they clock into work.
Oh, that's such a good point.
It bridges the gap between a 1940s Looney Tunes character and a modern superhero perfectly.
I was trying to figure out how to categorize this project, and the closest analogy I can come up with is a meticulously researched historical fiction novel, or maybe a Marvel What If comic.
Oh, that's a great comparison.
What if Spider-Man joined the Fantastic Four? But instead of superheroes, it's applied to the hyper-specific niche of corporate television broadcasting.
Yeah.
It's asking, what if a media conglomerate actually made the long-term creative decisions my inner child would have made? And it executes this so thoroughly that it temporarily short-circuits your perception of reality.
The illusion is highly effective.
Yeah.
And honestly, the most compelling piece of evidence for how it short-circuits perception is the very broadcast playing in front of us right now.
Oh man, I am still completely hooked on this Mandark takeover on the screen. Let's bring our focus back to that, because this immediate visual is just a masterclass in AA world building. What we are currently watching is an extended promotional sequence for the Dexter Weekend Ego Trip event.
For contextual clarity for the listener, Dexter's Laboratory Ego Trip is a legitimate animated television movie that originally premiered back in 1999.
But the promotion isn't treating it like a 25-year-old rerun at all. It's framing this movie as a critical, massive Saturday morning premiere for the year 2026. The narrative tension they've built into the broadcast itself it's brilliant.
How so?
Well, in the plot of the actual movie, Mandark, who is Dexter's hyper-intelligent rival, has this overarching megalomaniacal plot for world domination. But in this AU, that fictional plot has breached the containment of the movie and infected the Kids WB network schedule.
So the barrier between the content and the broadcaster has been entirely demolished. The network itself is under attack.
Exactly. I was reading through the viewer comments provided in our sources, and one person perfectly captured the atmosphere. They wrote, "Whoa, Mandark really overdid his evil plans this time. Even Kids WB isn't safe from him."
That is the exact psychological state the video induces. You feel like the schedule is actively being hijacked.
You really do.
And the aesthetic choices in the production style are what sell that hijacking. They utilize an incredibly urgent text-to-speech announcer voice.
The TTS voice. Yes, I was stuck on that. It sounds robotic, but it has this bizarrely aggressive cadence. It mimics those late 90s, early 2000s voiceover guys who sounded like they drank 6 energy drinks before reading the copy.
Right, it's synthesizing the vocal patterns of legendary promo announcers.
Yeah.
The script is designed to generate pure adrenaline. It says things like, "This kid is a genius. School has been canceled. Presenting Ego Trip starring Dexter. Premieres this Saturday morning at 10 a.m. on Kids WB. All part of the Dexter weekend. The world will be watching."
And while that synthetic voice is barking at you, the screen is just descending into absolute visual chaos. It's those backlot crossovers we just talked about.
The world colliding, yeah.
Yeah, you see actual 1999 footage of a laser blasting out of Dexter's lab, but then it instantly cuts to a modern animation of Michigan J. Frog dropping his cane and diving behind a soundstage for cover.
Which is what we just saw.
Exactly. Then Daffy Duck pops up in the corner of the screen giving snarky meta commentary about the Dexter and Mandark rivalry ruining his break time.
The creator is placing an isolated archival piece of media, the 1999 movie, into a reactive modern ecosystem.
Okay, but I need to push back on my own reaction here, or maybe ask you to diagnose my brain.
Go for it.
Because cognitively, rationally, I know I am looking at standard definition animation from 1999. I know that the announcer is a computer-generated voice from a software program. The seams of the construction are completely visible.
Right, they aren't hiding it.
So how does taking a 25-year-old cartoon and slapping a robotic voice over it physically elevate my heart rate? Why does my brain register this as a brand new high-stakes 2026 event that I absolutely cannot miss?
It's a fundamental question of media psychology, really.
Yeah.
It comes down to how formatting dictates emotional response, specifically the concept of liveness.
Liveness.
Yeah, think about it. When you load up a streaming service and select a 1999 movie, it exists in a vacuum. The power dynamic is entirely in your control. You click play, you can pause it, you can leave it. It is a static, solitary interaction.
That's true. I'm the one in charge.
What CN2 has successfully engineered is the artificial recreation of scarcity.
Scarcity, like the fear of missing out.
Exactly that. By contextualizing the movie within a dynamic real-time framework where an announcer assigns it a rigid time slot, like Saturday at 10 a.m., and where the other characters in the universe are reacting to it as a live, ongoing crisis, it fundamentally alters the nature of the media. It is no longer an on-demand rerun. It is a communal, urgent event. The TTS voice, despite being obviously synthetic, triggers the psychological markers of breaking news or an emergency broadcast.
It bypasses your rational knowledge.
Exactly. It bypasses your rational knowledge of the media's age and signals to your limbic system. Pay attention, this is happening right now, and if you look away, you will miss it.
That is wild. The packaging is doing all the heavy lifting. The context of the broadcast is actually more powerful than the content of the cartoon itself.
The medium truly becomes the message, and this is where the scale of the project becomes apparent. This Mandark takeover promo isn't just an isolated creative exercise.
No, not at all.
It is one small operational component of a massive, meticulously mapped system. This promo exists within the sprawling, year-long 30th anniversary programming schedule that CN2 developed for the entirety of 2025.
The 2025 Programming Guide. Man, I spent so much time looking at the sources detailing the schedule, and it honestly reads like a broadcast thesis. Any fan can write down a list of their favorite shows on a piece of paper, but this treats the entire calendar year as a grand, flowing narrative.
It requires a deep understanding of audience flow, which is essentially a lost art in the streaming era. Let's examine the structure of a standard broadcast day in this universe, beginning with their fall 2025 lineup.
Oh, which operates under the branding slogan, Tunes Escaped.
Right.
I love that branding so much. It gives the impression that the Warner Bros. Animation Vault couldn't contain the chaos, so the characters literally broke out onto the public airwaves.
It's very thematic.
So let's look at the weekday flow. Imagine it's a random Tuesday in fall 2025. At 7:00 a.m., the broadcast day kicks off with Tiny Toon Adventures.
Which is a very strategic choice. It establishes a strong legacy anchor for the early risers.
Right. Then the kids go to school, the adults go to work. Fast forward to 3:00 p.m., the after-school block begins. What's the first thing on the schedule? Animaniacs.
Right. A classic.
Which is then immediately followed by Pinky and the Brain at 3:30.
Consider the psychological state of the audience at 3:00 p.m. They are returning from hours of structured, high-focus educational environments. Transitioning into Animaniacs provides the perfect decompression mechanism.
That makes total sense.
It's a rapid fire, it's sketch-based, it's aggressively subversive. It allows the viewer to bleed off the tension of the school day.
But then, they don't just stay in the 90s. At 4 p.m., the schedule pivots sharply into modern energy with Teen Titans Go. And then, hitting the legendary 4:30 p.m. slot, they drop in classic Pokemon, specifically the Indigo League era.
That sequence right there is what separates a nostalgic fanboy from a broadcast strategist.
How so?
Well, you transition from classic slapstick into hyperkinetic modern superhero comedy, and finally into foundational serialized anime.
Wait, if the goal of this AU is to celebrate 90s and 2000s nostalgia, doesn't throwing a controversial modern show like Teen Titans Go right in the middle of the block shatter the illusion? Why not just put Batman the Animated Series there?
Because a network that only relies on 30-year-old programming is a retro channel, not a living entity. If Kids WB had survived into 2026, it would absolutely be leveraging the current massive hits of its parent company to sustain viewership.
Oh, I see.
By using the hammocking technique, placing a newer or differently toned show between the established massive pillars of Animaniacs and Pokemon, they ensure viewer retention across different age demographics. It proves the network is alive and adapting.
Okay, that makes total sense. It keeps the blood flowing. Speaking of keeping the blood flowing, I have to talk about their Friday afternoon strategy.
Freak Out Friday.
Yes. In the sources, they detail Freak Out Friday. The schedule largely follows the same early afternoon structure, but by 4:30 p.m., they abandon the regular anchors and just start throwing wild card, chaotic shows at the wall. The crown jewel of Freak Out Friday is Freakazoid.
Elevating Freakazoid to anchor a dedicated block is an inspired piece of curation. During its original run, it was arguably the most metatextual, unpredictable cartoon on television.
It really was.
It frequently broke the fourth wall and parodied the network itself. Giving it control of the Friday afternoon transition into the weekend perfectly matches the escalating energy of a student finishing their week.
They also build out massive seasonal architectures. For October, they rebrand the network into Scoobtober, running intensive Scooby-Doo marathons that culminate in a massive Halloween finale block.
Which is exactly what a real network would do.
Right. But the strategy completely shifts when you look at the weekend mornings. The overarching philosophy for the weekend in this AU is titled Big Kids Go First,
which subverts the traditional broadcast model. Historically, Saturday mornings began with gentler, preschool-oriented programming.
Well, they actually do nod to that, to be fair. The schedule notes that at 7:00 a.m., they run the Cartoonito block. This is where they burn off their EI requirements, those educational mandates we talked about earlier. They air shows like Batwheels and Bugs Bunny Builders.
But they get it out of the way incredibly fast.
Yes, by 8:00 a.m., the training wheels come off entirely. They drop right back into Freakazoid. Then they pivot into action comedy with DC Superhero Girls or the classic Totally Spies.
And then they ramp it up.
Oh, yeah. By 9:00 a.m., the schedule accelerates into the heavy action and dedicated anime blocks. Yu-Gi-Oh! Go Rush followed immediately by Pokemon Horizons at 9:30.
It's an absolute gauntlet of programming.
It really is. Then they roll right back into Teen Titans Go and finish the morning with an hour of Animaniacs and the modern revival Tiny Toons Looniversity. It's relentless.
And what blew my mind going through the sources is that this schedule isn't just a static loop.
No.
As the year progresses into winter 2025 and spring 2026, the network actively shifts its lineup.
They simulate the entire television life cycle. We see the introduction of completely new projects like the African fantasy series Ianu, a revival of the chaotic live-action Pee-wee's Playhouse, and the highly anticipated return of the wonderfully weird world of Gumball.
They even introduced Strong Days.
Right. Strong Days, which are these heavy, action-oriented blocks, and they run themed weeks focused entirely on monsters, aliens, or ghosts, depending on the season.
It's extremely immersive.
But my absolute favorite piece of this year-long simulation, like the part that made me literally laugh out loud at the genius of it, is their programming strategy for summer 2026.
The revival of the interactive era.
Yes. Summer 2026 is officially branded as the Click and Pick season.
I remember that format so well.
For any listener who was around in the early 2000s, you will remember this vividly. The network would run promos telling kids to log on to their dial-up internet, go to kidswb.com, and actually vote on which shows would air the following day or later that week.
And CN2 brings this entire concept back from the dead.
They simulate a viewer-driven schedule where guest stars, quote-unquote, hijack the block. So you might tune in on a Tuesday, and the Flash is running the schedule at super speed.
Or Yosemite Sam has tied up the network executives and is picking the cartoons.
Yes.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, the click-and-pick revival is a profound commentary on the modern media landscape.
How so?
In our current reality, streaming has made everything completely interactive. You pick the exact episode at the exact second you want it. Linear broadcasting ultimately lost the war because it couldn't offer that level of agency.
Wait, you were totally at the mercy of the TV guide.
But by simulating these interactive voting blocks within a linear schedule, CN2 is proposing a hybrid model. It addresses the modern viewer's demand for interactivity while preserving the communal surprise of traditional broadcasting.
That's a really good way to frame it.
It's proposing, what if the network gave you the illusion of democratic control, but you still got to experience the collective thrill of seeing what the rest of the audience voted for?
That's the magic of it. You're sitting on your couch watching the broadcast and thinking, wow, everyone in the country actually voted for Teen Titans Go today. Or, I can't believe Yosemite Sam forced us to watch 4 consecutive episodes of Animaniacs. It creates a shared cultural moment.
Exactly. It proves that the chaotic, highly branded Warner Bros. Formula, where the network itself is treated as a primary character and where the schedule is an unpredictable event, can theoretically still work in a streaming-dominated world.
It provides the one thing an algorithmic streaming queue fundamentally lacks.
A sense of shared time.
A sense of shared time, wow. And to pull that off, to make the viewer feel like they are sharing time with a real entity, you need more than just a spreadsheet of showtimes.
You need the infrastructure.
Right. Making it feel like a genuine, functioning physical television network requires a level of granular production that borders on insanity. Here's where it gets really interesting.
The structural integrity of the illusion.
Exactly. CN2 didn't just animate a few flashy promos for the big shows. They went down into the absolute bedrock of local television broadcasting. They created hyper-detailed, localized continuity segments utilizing the call sign of a fake local affiliate, WPCH-TV.
Now, the selection of WPCH-TV is a brilliant historical detail. WPCH-TV is a real-world, Atlanta-based independent station that has deep historical ties to the Turner Broadcasting empire.
Wait, really? It's a real station?
Yes. Turner, of course, eventually merged with Time Warner, making it the ancestral home of Cartoon Network. Grounding the AU in that specific local call sign adds a massive layer of authenticity to the whole thing.
I didn't even realize that was a real station. That makes it even better. And the videos in the specific playlist, they aren't just hyping up cartoons. They are full-blown simulations of the mundane operational mechanics of television.
Right, the day-to-day broadcasting.
We're talking about the 6.0 AM station sign-ons where they play the national anthem over footage of a waving flag before the cartoons start. We're talking about the 2.0 late-night station sign-offs.
They are meticulously recreating the in-between spaces, the bumpers, the coming-up-next lineup slates, the local station-specific voiceovers that awkwardly transition out of a national feed.
Wait, I have to pause you there because the word bumper gets thrown around a lot. For someone who doesn't obsess over television history, what is the actual functional purpose of a bumper? Why did they exist in the first place?
It wasn't originally a creative choice, actually. It was a legal necessity.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Going back to the FCC regulations governing children's television, there were strict rules regarding advertising. Regulators determined that young children have difficulty distinguishing between the narrative programming and the commercial advertisements.
Oh, sure. Because if Batman is suddenly holding a specific brand of cereal, a 5-year-old just thinks it's part of the Batman episode.
Exactly. To prevent deceptive marketing, the FCC mandated the use of bumpers. These were brief 5 to 10 second interstitial animations that served as a clear psychological palate cleanser.
A separate.
Right. They explicitly signaled to the child's brain, the cartoon is pausing, a commercial is beginning. Over time, networks realized that these mandated commercial separators were prime real estate for brand building, which led to the creation of these elaborate, culturally iconic network animations.
That makes the inclusion of them in this AU even more impressive. They are recreating regulatory infrastructure as an art form.
They really are.
And the music they use for these WPCH TV local segments, it's uncanny. It's this era-specific, slightly generic, slightly cheesy instrumental music that sounds exactly like what a local affiliate would license for cheap.
It's pitch perfect.
The scale of this operation is just staggering. The CN2 YouTube channel has over 16,000 subscribers, which is a massive, highly engaged community for something this hyper-specific.
It really is.
The CN2 Kids WB Rebrand playlist alone contains hundreds of these videos, hundreds of bumpers, promos, and localized continuity pieces.
It operates as an immersive media empire. And, as sociologists of media, it's fascinating to observe the friction that occurs when this alternate reality collides with the rules of our actual reality.
The real world creeping in.
Right. Because these videos are hosted on YouTube in our timeline, they are bound by modern digital infrastructure. The creator is meticulous about including clear, fair use disclaimers, explicitly noting the fan-made, alternate universe nature of the project.
They diligently credit the original corporate owners of the footage and the audio elements, too.
Exactly. But reading through the sources, there is this incredible, deeply ironic detail about how the real world interacts with this project.
The Kopapi stuff.
Yes. Because of YouTube's algorithmic policies, specifically the machine learning filters designed to enforce COPIA, the Children's Online Privacy Protection Act, these videos often run into trouble.
Because they feature bright colors, animation, and characters like Bugs Bunny, the algorithm just flags them automatically.
Exactly. So these videos, which are literal painstaking tributes to the history of children's television programming, often have to carry a mandatory not for kids label just to avoid account strikes.
The irony is so profound. A meticulously crafted love letter to the communal experience of Saturday morning cartoons is deemed inappropriate for modern children by a sterile, unthinking machine learning algorithm.
It really throws the current state of digital media into sharp relief, doesn't it? We've traded the curated, human-driven, chaotic joy of the Kids WB era for algorithmic sanitization.
It really does highlight what we've lost. But I was watching one of these WPCH TV continuity videos today, and I experienced something I'm struggling to articulate.
Oh.
Yeah. I want to ask you to explain it, and I'm asking you listening at home if you've ever felt this too. I was watching a 5-minute simulation of a fake local station telling me what shows were coming up on a fake Monday afternoon. And suddenly, I felt this heavy, profound wave of comfort. I felt a deep sense of safety. I was nostalgic for a 2026 that doesn't actually exist. Why? Why does the fake, static, and generic music of a local affiliate sign-off make me feel emotionally secure?
It's actually a highly documented psychological phenomenon.
Yeah.
Cognitively speaking, what you are experiencing is the emotional resonance of liminal spaces.
Liminal spaces, like when you see a photo of an empty shopping mall at 2:00 in the morning or a long windowless hotel hallway, that eerie feeling.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
The concept originates in architecture and anthropology. A liminal space is a threshold. It is a place of transition, a hallway, an airport terminal, a waiting room.
Places you just pass through.
Right. These places are not the destination. Their entire purpose is to be the space between destinations. If we apply this framework to the landscape of television, the narrative programming, the 22-minute episode of Pokemon or Batman, that is the destination.
Okay, I'm with you.
The liminal spaces of television are the infrastructure. The commercial breaks, the mandated bumpers, the tracking lines on a worn VHS tape, the static, the disembodied voice of the announcer telling you to stay tuned.
The space between the shows, the threshold.
Exactly. And when we were children, our developing brains absorbed those liminal spaces just as deeply as the narrative content. Think about the cognitive load.
What do you mean?
Following the plot of an episode requires active attention. But when the bumper played, when the local affiliate sign-off music swelled, our brains relaxed. We were allowed to detach.
Oh, wow.
Therefore, those transitional spaces became the ambient noise of our childhoods. They subconsciously represent safety, reliable routine, and the anticipation of what comes next.
But the routine, that's exactly it. When you hear that specific, cheesy instrumental sting, your subconscious immediately knows what time of day it is, what day of the week it is, where you are sitting in your living room.
And it confirms that everything in your world is orderly and okay.
Precisely. The genius of CN2 is the understanding that the true, potent emotional power of nostalgia doesn't reside solely in the characters. It lives in the connective tissue between the shows.
By meticulously recreating the aesthetic of the affiliate sign-off or the local promo, they're bypassing the surface-level memory of a cartoon and triggering the deepest, most authentic, almost subconscious level of atmospheric nostalgia.
It shifts the viewer's internal monologue from, I remember watching this show, to, I remember how it felt to safely exist in the world when this was on.
I remember how it felt to safely exist in the world. That is incredibly profound.
And looking at the sheer volume of work they've put into this, it's like they've constructed an emotional sanctuary entirely out of broadcast static and text-to-speech voices.
It is a functional sanctuary.
Mm.
It provides a digital space where the chaos of our real world, the relentless corporate mergers, the cynical cancellation of beloved blocks, the isolating fragmentation of streaming algorithms, none of that ever happened.
It manifests a timeline defined by pure, uninterrupted creative continuity.
Which is exactly what we're looking at right now.
Yes. And that brings us right back to the present moment. Sitting here in this room, look at the screen one last time.
Oh, it's ending.
The Mandark Takeover promo is finally wrapping up on Cartoon Network 2.0. Dexter is shouting his final line. The urgent TTS announcer hits that final hype-inducing pitch, and boom.
Wow.
The screen cuts perfectly back to the Serene Kids WB backlot logo, acting like nothing ever happened.
The execution of the transition is absolutely flawless.
So what does this all mean? If we have to distill the essence of these sources and this entire massive project down to a core takeaway, it's that CN2's Kids WB rebrand is far more than just a clever fan edit.
It really is.
It functions as an endlessly entertaining, deeply moving, alternate history documentary. It is a defiant creative statement that the magic of that era, the communal joy of broadcast television, didn't actually have to die.
It proves mathematically and artistically that, in at least one timeline, the frog never had to stop singing. The tunes never had to stop escaping.
And it proves that multiple generations of people can still gather around a screen and bond over the pure, unadulterated absurdity of Warner Bros. Animation. Listen, I'm going to say it one more time.
We really should check it out.
When this is over, open your browser. Search for CN2. Search for the Kids WB Rebrand playlist. Let yourself fall down this rabbit hole. Let yourself experience the physical vibe of this universe.
You won't regret it.
Because spending time in this meticulously crafted reality brings back the joy of discovery in a way that very few things in our modern digital lives can.
It is a remarkable achievement. But as we sign off from this analysis, I want to leave you, the listener, with a final structural question to ponder.
Leave them with something to think about.
Exactly. We have spent this time analyzing the genius, the passion, and the sheer sociological vibrancy of this alternate universe. We've seen how alive, dynamic, and deeply connected to its audience and network can feel when it is curated with genuine care and a foundational understanding of its own cultural legacy.
Absolutely.
So consider the implications of this. If a single passionate YouTube creator armed with modern editing software and synthetic voices can single-handedly run an alternate universe television network that feels this cohesive, this urgent, and this emotionally resonant.
Yeah.
What does that say about the current state of our actual real-world media conglomerates? With all their billions of dollars, their endless algorithmic data, and their infinite resources, what is the fundamental human spark that modern networks have lost, that this brilliant fan project understands so perfectly?